Hi guys, welcome! In this video, we'll dive into the new combat attributes that will be introduced in the next patch update in ROM. We'll explain how these stats affect the current damage calculation and how you can accumulate these new attributes for improving your combat effectiveness. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. First, let's take a look at Ignore Physical Reduction and Ignore Magic Reduction. Unlike Penetration, which just directly subtracts from the enemy's damage reduction at a 1:1 ratio, these new Ignore Reduction stats reduce a percentage of the enemy's physical or magic damage reduction during the damage calculation. For example, if the enemy target has 200% physical damage reduction and you have 35% Ignore Physical Reduction, the effective physical damage reduction of the enemy would go down to 130%. Hence, you'll only need 130% physical penetration to completely negate the remaining physical damage reduction. Next, we have Physical Penetration Resist and Magic Penetration Resist. These new defensive stats counter the attacker's physical and magic penetration by reducing a percentage of it during the damage calculation. For example, if the attacker has 150% magic penetration and you have 35% magic penetration resist, the effective MPen will go down to 97.5%. To increase these four new stats, you will need to upgrade your Blessing of Goddess and Sacred Blessing in the guild. For Blessing of Goddess, you can upgrade both Ignore Physical and Magic Reduction to a maximum of 20%, each requiring 1,150 attack cards to upgrade to level 40. Similarly, you can boost both Physical and Magic Penetration Resist to a maximum of 20% by using 1,150 Def cards for each. Since it only requires praying cards, veteran players who've been playing for a long time and have been hoarding praying card packs would have an advantage compared to newer players. As for Sacred Blessing, the current cap for these stats is 15%. Upgrading Ignore Physical and Magic Reduction to level 30 will require 200 Rainbow Crystal Chips and 200 attack cards for each. Meanwhile, upgrading Physical and Magic Penetration Resist will require 200 Rainbow Crystal Chips and 200 Def cards for each. In total, you can get 35% of each stat from Blessing of Goddess and Sacred Blessing. Due to the huge amount of Rainbow Crystal Chips required, it's expected that F2P players will take a longer time to boost these stats. Next, take a look at the new Elemental Pierce and Elemental Resist attributes, which apply to all elements except Undead. Elemental Pierce reduces a percentage of the enemy target's elemental damage reduction, while Elemental Resist reduces a percentage of the attacker's elemental damage in the damage calculation. As an example, if the enemy target has 150% fire damage reduction and 10% fire resist, while you have 50% fire pierce and 150% fire damage, then the enemy target's fire damage reduction would go down to 75%, while your fire damage will be reduced to 135%. Therefore, the greater the difference between your Elemental Pierce and the target's Elemental Resist, the more significant the effect of these new attributes will be. To increase your Elemental Pierce and Elemental Resist, you will need to upgrade your Synth equipment and Blessing of Goddess in the guild. Synth Offhand and Armor can now be upgraded to Tier 6, granting 7.5% Wind, Earth, Water, and Fire Resist. Synth Garment and Footgear can now be upgraded to Tier 6, granting 7.5% Holy, Dark, Ghost, Poison, and Neutral Resist. And Synth Accessories can now be upgraded to Tier 1, granting 7.5% All Elemental Pierce. It's important to note that these new tiers are only activated under specific conditions. Either the Synth gear in the main slot must have a refinement level of +16, or the Synth gear in the Phantom equipment slot must have 60% Phantom Progress. However, to upgrade the Phantom Progress from 50% to 60%, you'll need 250 Advanced Phantom Magic Power Ores. Thus, the only way to expedite this is to purchase the limited supply packs in the Recharge Shop. As for Blessing of Goddess, the cap for Elemental Pierce and Elemental Resist for various elements is at 20%, which can be obtained at max level 40. You'll need 230 attack cards for upgrading each Elemental Pierce for neutral, wind, earth, fire, and water elements, 230 Def cards for upgrading each Elemental Resist for neutral, wind, earth, fire, and water elements, and 230 Element Chips for upgrading each Elemental Pierce and Elemental Resist for Holy, Dark, Ghost, and Poison elements. In total, the highest elemental pierce and elemental resist you can achieve for each element is 35%. Although these upgrades require less amount of praying cards, you should still carefully plan which elemental pierce and elemental resist you're going to focus upgrading first. Lastly, we have single target damage and multiple target damage, along with their corresponding defensive counterparts, single target damage reduction and multiple target damage reduction. These new multipliers directly affect your damage output depending on whether your attack only hits one target or multiple targets. For example, if your skill hits more than one enemy unit, then its damage will be multiplied to your multiple target damage and reduced by your target's multiple target damage reduction. This adds another layer of complexity to optimizing your build, as you'll need to adjust your stats based on the type of attacks you primarily use. Right now, the only source of these attributes is the Alien Soul Player card, which grants 8% multiple target damage and 12% single target damage. However, more sources of these attributes are expected to be introduced in future updates through new cards and the memory system. As these new attributes become more accessible, they'll play a more significant role in enhancing ROM's combat mechanics. So those are the new combat attributes that will be introduced in the next patch update in ROM. Hopefully this video has helped you in understanding how these new combat attributes work. Alright, that's it for this video guys. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this guide. If you're new here, I would love you to consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Thank you for watching and see you in our next episode.